Don't throw those selvages away. Save them from the fabric so you can transform them into a scrappy craft. Fabric salvages are another form of fabric scraps that can be utilized in so many different ways. Today, needle pointers will show you how to put these selvage edges to good use by making a sweet mug rug. To make the Selvage Strips Mug Rug, you will need 15 to 20 selvage strips in various widths, fusible batting or fleece 7 inches by 11 inches, a backing fabric 7 inches by 11 inches, binding fabric strip 2.5 inches by 40 inches, thread, cutting mat, ruler, rotary cutter, binding clips, sewing machine, and a blind hem foot is optional. Before we get started with the project, let's talk about selvage. The selvage is a tightly woven edge that runs lengthwise along each side of the fabric, and it won't fray. Sometimes it has numbers on it with little swatches that show the color that's in the fabric. It also can have the name. It can also be just plain without anything on it. And sometimes it even has, I think maybe you can see it, little holes there, which that doesn't matter when you're making this project. It still would look nice. If you plan to use selvage in projects, cut the strips so you have about 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch of the main fabric showing. And always be sure to press the selvage strips flat. This mug rug tutorial uses the quilt-as-you-go method of quilting. So the first thing you need to do is to fuse the fleece to the back fabric. Lay the fusible fleece on the ironing board with the adhesive side, which is the rough side, facing up. Then place the backing fabric on top with the wrong side down and the right side facing up. With an iron, fuse the two pieces together according to the manufacturer's instructions. We will refer to this piece as the foundation piece. Thread your sewing machine with the top thread a neutral color and the bobbin thread to match the backing fabric. Now you're ready to add your selvages to the foundation piece. Each strip of the selvage has the selvage edge and the cut edge. For the mug rug, you will be piecing the selvages diagonally from corner to corner at an approximately 45-degree angle. And the cut edges will be towards the center of this foundation piece. For the first piece, you may want to pin it just to make sure that it stays in place. For the next piece, place it on top of the first piece, making sure that it extends beyond the edges of the foundation piece and it overlaps the first piece or the piece that you already put on by approximately 1/4 inch. Now you're going to edge stitch close to the selvage edge, not the cut edge, using a straight stitch. Okay, the first piece has been sewn on, and as you can see underneath, it has a little bit of the first piece, and now you're ready to add another piece. I'm going to just grab one that I have over here Now this one happens to not have any writing on it or anything, which is fine. Make sure again that it extends past the foundation edge, overlapping the previous stitched piece, and stitch it in place. Now you can trim in the beginning before you sew it, or you can trim it after you've sewn the piece on. Again, pick up a piece. This one happens to have some numbers on it, so I think I'll use that one. And I want to extend it so I see some of the numbers and sew it in place. Now I want to show you what you do if you have a fringed piece. See how this piece has like a little bit of fringe here on the edge? Okay, you don't want to sew on the fringe. You want to sew right inside of where the fringe is. Make sure it's overlapping and stitch. And as I said, don't stitch on the fringe, stitch right inside of the fringe. Continue to stitch and cover the piece. So once the foundation piece is entirely covered with selvages, it's time to trim it. Put it on the cutting mat with the back side facing up. Then take your ruler, and I'm using my Quilter's slide lock ruler because I find it's the easiest ruler to use, and it holds the fabric in place and does not move. Trim the pieces even with the backing. If you take a closer look, you can see that the piece is already quilted for you. So all you need to do now is to put on your binding. To finish the raw edges of the mug rug, we're going to use double fold binding, and that's what I have here. The binding should be at least 40 inches long. If you don't know how to make double fold binding, we have a video, and you will find a link in the description section and also in the video. You want to put the mug rug with the backside facing up under your sewing machine presser foot, with starting approximately 3.5 inches from the corner and leaving about a 4-inch tail. You also want to make sure that you backstitch when you start. Stitch as you would usually do, mitering the corners. And if you don't know how to miter corners, we will have a video again on how to do that in the description section and in the video itself. As you approach the starting point of the binding, stop and leave a gap that is about 5 or 6 inches. Be sure to back tack. Now I'm going to show you a simple way to join these two ends together. Take the mug rug to the ironing board and fold the two end pieces back onto themselves, meeting the two ends in the middle. See how these are meeting right there? We're going to iron it, and we're going to make a crease. Then we're going to put the right sides together like this, match up the two creases on the pieces, and we're going to sew along the crease to join them. I sewed the two pieces together, and before trimming and sewing this portion onto the mug rug, just be sure that the length of the binding correctly fills in the unstitched gap. If it does, you can trim it with 1/4 inch seam, finger press it open, and then go to the sewing machine and sew the gap closed. After that's attached, trim your threads, and then with an iron, let's just press the binding away from the back. And next, flip your mug rug over to the front. Now that the binding is in place on the back, it is time to attach it to the front. I like this method because you can watch where you are stitching and it leaves the mug rug front looking neat and tidy. Flip the mug rug to the front and fold over the binding over the raw edges and attach with binder clips. Do this all the way around the mug rug, mitering the corners. Once I have that done, I'll come back and I'll show you then how to sew the binding in place. To sew the binding on the front, you need to thread your sewing machine with the thread in the top that matches the binding, and the bobbin thread should match the quilting thread on the back. Now, attaching the binding to the front of the mug rug, we're going to be using a straight stitch and stitch about 1/4 inch from the inside fold. This is called edge stitching. You can do this with a blind hem presser foot or your regular presser foot. For this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use the blind hem presser foot in order to do it, because it's really, really simple and you get a nice straight stitch. Now, the blind hem presser foot has like a little guide bar here. And what you're going to do is you're going to move your needle over to the right. We're going to begin in a corner. And I'm going to line that guide bar up right against the fold. I'm going to lower my presser foot and I'm going to begin to sew. Of course, I'm going to back stitch. Now, by using this little guide, it will, and having it really aligned, the inside fold with the guide, it does a nice straight stitch. And you just stitch it all the way around. Now, if you don't have the blind hem stitch, you can use your regular one, but you'll have to watch when you're sewing and use the middle line here as your guide to try to sew it straight. I recommend that if you do not have a blind hem stitch, they're really not that expensive if you can buy a universal one. And I find that I use it all the time for putting on binding, for hemming pants, skirts, and for various projects. It really comes in handy. Okay, I'm going to stitch all the way around and then we'll show you what it looks like when it's finished. Here is my finished Selvage mug rug. I realized in the video I told you to edge stitch about 1/4 inch from the edge when putting on the binding. That was incorrect. It should be about 1/16 to 1/8 inch that you edge stitch close to the folded edge. These mini Selvage mug rugs will cheer up any table or desk, perfect for a nightstand or any place in your home. And they practically cost nothing because you're using the selvage of the fabric. I hope that you enjoyed this video and decide to make some mug rugs from Salvage. Please like, share, and comment. Subscribe to our channel and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest. Visit our website, needlepointers.com, for other free sewing tutorials and information. While you are there, sign up for our weekly newsletter so you don't miss future videos.